have you seen homelessness in California? I'm like, no, I have not. I've not been following it at all. And then I see this video. Kai, if you want to prepare the video, I want you to watch this video on what homelessness looks like in the state of California. This is, before you press play, hang on. This is not Fox bashing California. This is not CNN defending California. This is not MSNBC. This is just a basic news NBC telling you what's going on with homelessness in the state of California. Press play, Kai.
It's a trend you've probably seen more of during the pandemic, even though it's illegal. New encampments have been popping up throughout LA in the last 5 months. Mayor Eric Garcetti and LA County officials vowed to get people off the streets during the pandemic. But as NBC4i team investigator Joel Grover is finding,
looks like a third world country. It literally does.
Appears to have multiplied.
Two women beat the summer heat in a pool set up on a sidewalk at a new encampment in Venice. To fill the pool, they tapped into the water line from the building next door. In other parts of Venice, there are also new encampments on the beach, on the world-famous boardwalk.
I lived 24 years in California. I've been all these streets I see. I know all these streets.
Pat, the only thing California
Bro, that's a golf course. That's a golf course.
Mile long. Venice resident Alan Parsons.
It's a failure of the local government to
For 2 years, I was in Venice every single week. I know these streets.
That's the city. That's what it looks like.
I've never seen that.
Across LA, taking up entire blocks that used to have no tents.
Now watch why,
this
though.
encampment that used to cover just the sidewalk under the 101 freeway
I've seen
Gower,
this. So this you'll see in California under bridges.
In the middle of the street,
this isn't uncommon.
How have we surrendered to the fact that that's normal?
Well, watch.
Estella Lopez represents downtown businesses in the area that includes
This is
Skid
not
Row.
common.
In addition to COVID, is the city worried about what else is growing underneath those encampments? People are sitting in their own waste. We have had typhus. We have had tuberculosis, staph, rodents, fleas, bed bugs. All of that is living in these encampments.
Law enforcement tells the I-Team there are now more homeless on the streets for two reasons. First, starting in April, to stem the spread of COVID behind bars,
Watch this.
California jails
look
and
this.
prisons began releasing 3,500 nonviolent inmates out onto the streets.
Remember
Skid
when
Row
Iran
has been
announced
a
they released
destination for
50,000,
people
Kai?
recently released from county jail.
California
when they don't
released
have
3,500.
A home or friends or family to go to.
Also, the city of LA stopped enforcing several laws during the pandemic. For example, they're not enforcing the ordinance that forbids the homeless from having bulky items at their tents. That's why you're now seeing huge encampments with sofas, mattresses, and yes,
fifth
even
largest
waiting
economy
pools.
in the world.
Mayor Garcetti has boasted this summer that more and more housing has been built for the homeless, like this Bridge Home shelter in Venice.
So to Eric Garcetti, I would say that this is anything but a success.
The mayor's website says when a Bridge Home shelter opens, the city will establish enforcement zones to ensure that tents are taken down.
How is California now having their own form of slums?
New tents are being
you can
set
press
up
pause
all
at
the
this point, Kai. We get the idea. I mean, look, 24 years I lived in California. Every Christmas morning at 5 a.m., myself and 50 of our guys would go to Skid Row every morning, Christmas morning. We'd go to Skid Row, and we would go buy 500 cheeseburgers from McDonald's, and we'd give it away. And we'd have our friends. We'd get up and we'd go give away food, blankets, toothpaste, toothbrush, you know, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I understand Skid Row. It's always been like that.
It took a couple hours, right?
It took a couple hours.
You'd be doing that to the 4th of July now, and that would be just Venice and downtown LA.
But the point I'm trying to make to you is we saw this in Skid Row. Fine. And by the way, a lot of the people on Skid Row, regular people that had jobs that they're now on Skid Row, these are not people that you think they're homeless. But to have this happening, I can't believe it.
They barely touched on the worst problem. If you want to get somebody going on this, Dr. Drew, he used to have a radio show in L.A.
Yes.
Now he doesn't really have that radio show anymore. But every day, that's all he talked about was the homeless problem. And I had to turn it off. It's so... I mean, look, if you really know what's going to happen from this, it's the disease. It's the rats that are transmitting all these fatal diseases all over these streets. It's going to be a huge health issue. The other thing, too, is the city of L.A., probably if they watch that video, the politicians in California, the only thing they would be upset about is, remember at the beginning of the video, they showed that car seat that they had in one of the encampments? It was from a car.
Yes.
No seatbelt. I mean, they're going to have to ticket those people, maybe get them off the street immediately.
That's probably what they would catch.
It's depressing. It's depressing. It gets worse every single week, too.
So not being a California guy, tell me about Skid Row. Like, what is that? The name of the street? Is it the name of the area? Is it like the homeless vibe?
Yeah, that's what it is. Skid Row's in downtown. Not the safest area. It's where a lot of where the shelters are as well.
Gotcha.
But when you go there, there's homeless people on each side of the street. Very normal, and I've seen this my entire life living in LA, okay? And I've been in every single pocket of LA. When you sell insurance and you're running appointments, guess what streets you go to? Every street. I've driven 200,000 miles in LA, ranging from, all the way up in Palmdale to Quartz Hill to Lancaster. Shout out to Cindy Cobos and Patricia Cobos. I've been all over Palmdale, Lancaster with my appointments, to Valencia, to Canyon Country, to Granada Hills, to Simi Valley,
Inland Empire,
to San Bernardino Valley, to Pasadena.
The entire lay of the
land.
When
I tell you everywhere, I've never seen this.
No.
So where is this happening?
It's
everywhere.
It didn't exist until a year ago.
Not even Hollywood.
Is this COVID? Is this a horrible
no, this is California.
Bureaucratic politics?
This is
a
not
bunch
COVID.
of nonsensical people running the show? What is this?
This is not COVID. This is state of California politics. That's what that is. It's state of California politics. Look, remember we talked about San Francisco. By the way, if you're listening to this and you are in California, in SoCal, you tell us when you're driving and you're going to work. Know this, that Valuetainment in the audience that we have is 195 plus different countries. So it's not like everybody's from America. That's only 30% of our audience that's from America. For those of you that are in California, if you're in California, what does it look like? Explain to us when you go to work what it looks like in California. Here's what it is. Look, homelessness has always been a problem. It's nothing new. There's
in California, in the United America, in the
period.
world,
I'm talking about the fact that it's an issue that is there right now. You talked about San Francisco a couple weeks ago when you took your. Matter of fact, I think it was last week. Last week when you talked about you and one of your girlfriends that you went to San Francisco, and she was kind of like, I cannot believe what it looks like day one. Mm-hmm. She wanted to go. One of my favorite spots to go. Jen and I, we have a blast in San Francisco, right? To see what's happening in San Francisco. Yeah. San Francisco is one of the most expensive real estate in the world. It should not be experiencing. So when you go to India, I went to Bombay. Okay, I went to Bombay, and I stayed there for a handful of days. And I was speaking at IIT. Okay, they had 5,000 people there. And I told my driver, I want to go to the slums. He says, well, where do you want to go to the slums? I said, take me to any slum. So he said, there's slums everywhere. So we started going to slums. And when you go to the slums in India, the slums could be right next to a billionaire's house. The slums could be in Bollywood, meaning Beverly Hills is here, Rodeo Drive. Next street is the slums. So they don't have a whole zip code. This is the rich community. This is, Brooklyn Heights, or this is, Miami Fisher Island. They don't have things like that. You could be in Miami Fisher Island of India. Next door to you is the slums. That's India. California is starting to look like Bombay. That's what's starting to look like. It's starting to look like the slums of India is happening to California.
Yeah, I saw this great story in the Daily Mail a couple of weeks ago. And, so many people look at America when they want to come here and they think of Gold's Gym in Venice. And I may have mentioned this before, but when you go to Gold's Gym in Venice right now, I mean, literally it is blocks and blocks of homeless people all the way to the front door. I mean, you don't know what you're stepping on. I mean, the garbage that is created from these encampments is unbelievable. And that happens to trickle away from some of these tent cities that have popped up all over. And everywhere you look, it's just garbage because it's just crap everywhere. Everything is left outside. The health hazard that this is going to turn into in about a year is going to blow people's minds. It's so depressing.
By the way, somebody just commented right now saying California's homelessness in LA has increased 65,000 people. 65,000 people. That was said by Anthony Kamel. Here's Hazem Shrabach. Says, I go to university in San Diego and I like to run and I see so many homeless people everywhere. It's really sad to witness. By the way, this is how the system works. If your state offers a lot of social programs and if your state doesn't offer social programs, let me explain both and I'll kind of paint this picture for you and you see where I'm going with this. Imagine you decide to start a state, okay? And I decide to start a state. In my state, I say, listen, You come, you don't pay taxes. But guess what? You got to figure yourself out. You got to make your money. I don't have any social programs for you if you come to my state. But you don't have to pay me taxes. The only taxes you'll pay, if you want to use the express lane in my freeway, we spend $150 million for that. You're going to have to pay $3 to go on that express lane. If you come to my state, if you want to buy property, you're going to pay property tax. In my state, you're going to pay taxes for things you use, okay? But your state says, we're not like the other guy. That guy, all he cares about is money in the state of Texas, Florida, Nevada, these states. In my state, if you come here, I'll give you social programs, I'll give you shelter, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, I'll give you this, I'll give you this. In return, you have to pay me 13.3% of your taxes. And by the way, if you're not making $300,000 or $200,000 or $100,000, it doesn't affect you anyways. But we will give you all these social programs. Who's going to attract? What kind of people is your state going to attract? What kind of people is my state going to attract? This is the exact definition of
I get it.
what Texas is attracting and what the state of California is attracting.